when I heard Mr. Moomey up here talking, I said, well, if somebody's son gets to speak, I want to have a second up there. So I jumped up right in front of the line, and when I heard him say, well, my father, Mr. Mooney, he could build a house with his own bare hands, I just had to get up in front of him and let everybody know, well, my father, he did build his house with his own hands. If you've ever been over on Florida over there, that is the house that my father actually built with his bare hands. I remember we lived right next door to it for a few years, and he built it up. And from the time that, pardon me, from the time that I was 5 until the time that I was 18, I lived there with him. And almost every week, somebody would come over and spend the night with us. Somebody would come over and eat with us. For the 13 years that I lived there, I remember my father having person after person coming over. And there were some lean years for York College. And if you were here in the late 80s, you remember those lean years. And I actually asked my father a few times, why is it that you keep working here? Why do you keep doing this? You could go a lot of other places and make some decent money. And he kept on working there, and it was the place that he wanted to be and the place that he wanted to support. And it's the reason that I'm proud of my father. Thank y'all.
I just want to echo again all the thanks. This is such a great thing. Dickie, thank you so much for your leadership in this organization. I don't know, what do you say about a man who's coached, I count 7 different sports at York College. He was the founding coach of 2 of them. He was intramurals director for decades. He was practically a fixture over at Freeman Center. He spent countless hours over there. What do you say about a guy like that? My mom always, and if you know Bruce's reputation as a prankster, my mom always says if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, which would make you think maybe my remarks would be very brief. I'm kind of like Jared, I'm a little scared of him. His prankster-isms on campus are legendary. If you've ever heard of the Hewlett Ghost, and I know some of you current students probably haven't, but Bruce helped perpetuate that for years. He went so far as to have a remote control so he could drive by and turn lights on and off from outside the building, as well as fans to make things flutter and things at night. He was famous for sending prank letters from ministers, presidents of colleges, things like that. Sometimes gift cards that had no value at all. And he just loved a good laugh. He loved that time of, a good joke on him was great. It was just as good, and it was also a great excuse to add someone to the list. But I think through the years, I think what's always struck me about Bruce is I think a lot of people often overlooked him. He was the guy who had the office down in the basement of the library. He was quiet. He was never up front. Days like this make him horribly uncomfortable. He didn't want to sit up here in front. He was embarrassed. I was talking to him earlier this week, and he was just crawling in his skin that people were coming in from out of town because of him. But Bruce, we haven't overlooked you because you haven't overlooked us. You're one of those people that often sees people that others don't. When I first arrived on campus as a faculty member, I was young, I didn't know many people, and I don't think anybody was really being an academic snob to me, but I think in academic circles, a lot of times there is some snobbery. And Bruce never treated me that way. I was this young guy, he graduated from York College the year I was born. And yet he took time for me, and that meant a lot to me. As a young man, that meant an enormous amount to me. He took time for me. He wanted to make sure that I was involved in things. He often would invite me to lunch. And I can remember when Vivian and I started having kids, and I just didn't have the money. He'd say, oh, no, you're going to go to lunch. I said, Bruce, I can't go today. Well, why not? Well, and I'd hem-haw around and finally say, come on, I'm buying. Now, the lunch wasn't as nice as what we maybe had today, but we never went hungry, and the company was great. Bruce, I remember those lunches. I'll never forget them. They're very important to me. And I dare say there's a lot of people that have come through York College that Bruce Tandy has bought a lunch for. He knows almost everyone. If you don't believe that, take a trip with him somewhere sometime. I've been with him on the road, and we stop at a gas station somewhere outside of Omaha, and someone comes up and hugs him. Mr. Tandy, it's so good to see you. We leave, and he said, do you know who that was? I said, no. He goes, well, I think she used to play basketball for me, but I'm not sure. Bruce really knows most people that came through York College. And he's I kind of liken him to the crazy uncle that everyone has or wishes that they have. My daughters, when they were young, called him Uncle Bruce. He was their uncle. And in many ways, he is my brother. As I mentioned before, his office is in that basement of the library. And for years and years, every morning before chapel or right after chapel, you could smell popcorn down there because he cooked it. And if you stopped in to try to borrow or sign out a camera or some sort of AV equipment, he expected you would come in and you would share popcorn with him. You ate with Bruce Tandy. A lot of people ate popcorn with him over the years there in the basement of the library. I think probably when I think about Bruce and I think about his heart and just his service to York College, I think of the year that we had a student who had come here from tropical climate. They were married, and they were from a tropical island. And a small group I was in was they just had a baby, and we decided we were going to do a pounding for them. And while we were over there at the house, realized it was cold, and they were wrapped up. And I don't know if they didn't know how to work a thermostat. They said it was just very cold in there. And I was telling Bruce about it the next morning, over in his basement of the library office. He said, so tell me again what's going on. So I tell him the story. He says, well, do they have space heaters? I said, I don't think so. And he reached over and he unplugged his and he put it up on top of the desk. He said, you take this to him. So, well, Bruce, what are you going to do? He said, take this heater to them. I said, but what are you going to do? He said, I'll go find something else, but they need it. Now, his office was always cold. When I took that space heater over dutifully to those who needed it, Bruce never told anybody that story. He didn't want those people to know where it came from. But I've never forgotten it, because that kind of generosity comes from within, and it comes from the heart. And it really speaks to the type of man that we're here honoring today. When I think of Bruce and his work at York College, for years we teased him. Bruce, you've been here for a long time, but when are you going to start working? Because a lot of people said, well, what's your job? And he'd say, well, I'm intramurals director. And Bruce was kind of a jack of all trades worker at York College. And a lot of people didn't understand what it was he did until he retired. And then suddenly, well, who's going to shovel the snow right in front of the library every morning? Bruce always did it. Never was asked. He just did it. I think he had his own shovel up there, in fact. Who's going to bring the flags to opening convocation? Who's going to help set up chairs for graduation? Who's going to make sure the podium and the stage and all that's there? All these behind-the-scenes things Bruce was often involved in. The reality is, Bruce did not have a job at York College. He had many, many jobs. And it was all born out of that love that he had for students and for the college. Bruce, although others have filled your position as intramurals director since you've left, I have to say, as your friend and brother, no one yet has replaced you. We miss you, we love you, we honor you today. It's my great honor, my great privilege to stand here today and introduce Bruce Tandy as Dr. Ekman will read the award to him.
We all have Bruce Tandy stories, and all of us are scared of him. But probably not as much as we used to be, because he doesn't work there anymore. Yeah, I remember, Bruce, I don't know if you remember, but I helped you lay floor joists on that house in Florida. And you taught me how to play racquetball. And a lot of things in my life I owe to Bruce Tandy. So a lot of us really appreciate him. So Bruce, would you come forward? because of his servant attitude and commitment to York College and Christ. On this day, October 12, 2012, Bruce Tandy is inducted into the York College Sports Hall of Fame.
No, one more, Bruce, your eyes are closed.
Don't worry, I'm just getting one over here. Thank you so much for this honor. When I was informed of this coming as a complete surprise to me, I'm deeply touched. I worked for York College for 40 years. I spent my time there with more things and jobs for me. It allowed me to do the things that I loved the most, and that is the young people, like Shane has mentioned. You keep me young. Through the years, I wore many hats: coaching intramurals, audio-visual, other words that weren't sure where to put me, so what to do with me. I am grateful to York College and all the friends I have made over the years, and I thank you a great deal. Thank you.